Today we're making easy and super yummy brunch items that are perfect for Easter and spring. Hi there foodie friends, my name is Carly and welcome back to my channel Adventures in Yum. First up we're making rosemary, garlic, and cheddar bunny biscuits. First, we're grating 1 stick or half a cup or 110 grams of cold butter onto a plate. Once we're done, set that butter in the freezer for now. To 2.5 cups or 350 grams of all-purpose flour, we add 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder with parsley, 1 teaspoon of fresh chopped rosemary, and finally 1 cup or about 90 grams of sharp cheddar cheese. Mix this until just combined. Next, we add the frozen butter into the flour mixture, making sure that all of the butter gets coated in that flour mixture. Break apart any butter clumps so that the butter is more evenly dispersed, and then we place this mixture into the freezer for about 10 minutes to ensure that the butter stays very cold. After removing the bowl from the freezer, we add half a cup of cold buttermilk, or instead, you can use 1.5 cups or about 400 grams of cold sourdough starter like I'm using here. After adding 1 teaspoon or about 1 to 2 cloves of minced garlic, we mix until the biscuit dough comes together. This dough was having a slightly hard time coming together all the way, so I added 1 teaspoon of whole milk, which did the trick. We then lightly flour the work surface and add the dough onto the surface. Using a lightly floured rolling pin, we roll the dough into a rectangle. Usually I would either just cut them at about 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters in thickness, or fold the dough a few times in order to try and get some layers. But this time, I had an idea I wanted to try. I rolled the dough very thin, and then unfortunately my phone was not recording the whole time I did this, but I added half a stick or 1/4 cup or 55 grams of softened unsalted butter and spread it across the whole surface of the dough. I then folded the dough into thirds one way, folded it into thirds the opposite way, and then rolled the dough out again, folded into thirds one way, fold into thirds the other way, and finally roll the dough into a rectangle that was about 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters in thickness. Using a bunny head cutter, I cut the dough into as many biscuits as possible and then re-rolled the excess dough in order to cut more biscuits. I ended up with about 15 bunny biscuits. We place the biscuits on a parchment paper lined baking sheet right next to each other. Bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for approximately 20 to 25 minutes, and then we remove them from the oven and turn the temperature up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 232 degrees Celsius. While the oven heats up, we brush the biscuits with half a stick or 1/4 cup or 55 grams of melted butter, preferably salted butter, and then bake for an additional 5 to 10 minutes. These biscuits are so buttery, and the combination of flavors is simply delicious. I think that the thing I need to do next is make some breakfast gravy to go with these biscuits, because biscuits and gravy is one of my top favorite comfort food breakfasts. Before we make carrot cake scones, if you are getting value out of this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my latest video. First, just like with the biscuits, we're grating 1 stick or half a cup or 110 grams of frozen unsalted butter onto a plate, and then we set that in the freezer for now. To 2.5 cups or 350 grams of all-purpose flour, we add half a cup or 100 grams of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup or 50 grams of packed brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon plus an 1/8 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon plus an 1/8 teaspoon of ground allspice. We give this a quick mix, and then we add the frozen butter into the dry ingredients and gently toss it around to make sure that all of the butter gets coated in the flour mixture, and we break apart any butter clumps so that the butter is more evenly dispersed. We then place this mixture into the freezer for about 10 minutes to make sure that the butter remains very cold. While that chills, we're chopping our walnuts and carrots. I personally like a minced carrot consistency, so after peeling the carrots, I roughly chop them into long sticks, chop those into a few pieces, and then pop that in the food processor and pulse until they look roughly like this. After removing the bowl from the freezer, we're adding 2/3 cup or about 80 grams of chopped walnuts and 2 cups or about 260 grams of chopped carrot pieces, and we give that a quick mix. We then add 1.5 cups or about 400 grams of cold sourdough starter discard and mix until the dough just comes together. As I mentioned earlier, instead of sourdough starter discard, you can also certainly use 1 cup or 237 milliliters of cold buttermilk. Once we're done, we divide the dough in half. We then take a piece of parchment paper, spray a little bit of non-stick cooking spray, and add half of the dough. We're simply using our hands to flatten the dough into a circle about 3/4 to 1 inch or about 2.5 centimeters in thickness. We now use a chef's knife to cut the circle into 8 even pieces and then carefully transfer the dough and parchment paper onto a baking sheet. Repeat with the other half of the dough. We're baking these at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for approximately 25 minutes. Once they come out of the oven, let it sit for a few minutes and then recut the scones. While we wait for them to completely cool, we're whipping up an easy cream cheese frosting that I usually make for my cinnamon rolls. To a mixing bowl, we add 4 ounces or 112 grams of room temperature cream cheese and half a stick or 1/4 cup or 55 grams of room temperature or softened unsalted butter. We mash and mix those together until they're well combined, and then we add 1 cup or 130 grams of powdered sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. After whisking everything until completely smooth, we're dividing the frosting into separate bowls. We keep one plain, and then separately add pink, orange, and green to the remaining bowls. I had extra pink, so I added that to the orange bowl, and simply added a little extra orange food gel to that one. After they completely cool, we're ready to decorate the scones. First up, the bunny. We have our plain and pink colors in 2 separate piping bags. Using the plain, we pipe 2 thick lines like so, and then pipe the frosting to cover the rest of the scone. We then take the pink bag and pipe a small line on top of the plain lines that we just piped to represent the inner part of the bunny ears, and then we pipe a small heart to represent the bunny nose. That's all there is to making cute bunny scones. To make the carrot cake design, we have our orange and green colors in 2 separate piping bags. We start a little way down from the top of the scone and pipe the orange in a zigzag format to cover most of the scone. We then take the green and pipe 3 squiggly lines coming out of the top to represent the carrot greens. That's all there is to making these cute carrot scones. Pro tip, when you're ready to enjoy your scone, heat it in the microwave for about 15 to 30 seconds. It makes the frosting all melty and just takes the eating part of this delicious experience to a whole other fabulous level. This tastes exactly like carrot cake, but in a breakfast form. It's not only delicious, but the frosting decorations on top are so easy, fun, and cute. If you give either of these recipes a try, I would love to know about it, so make sure to tell me in the comments below. If you're interested in checking out some of the products I used in this video, then please make sure to check out that video description below for their Amazon links. Thank you so much for joining me today, foodie friends. I'll see you next time for another yummy adventure. Cheers! Look how cute it is. They're so good.